Hello and welcome, my friends. We have made it. If you have been waiting for a long time, like me, to see how Stranger Things is finally going to end, well, today is the beginning of that end. Of course, the episodes are going to be dropped in three batches. We're going to have to wait all the way until the last day of the year to finally see how things are going to wrap up. But we do get the beginning of the end, the first three episodes that drop tonight at 5 p.m. Pacific, because nothing can ever be super easy. But we should be excited. We should be grateful. Actually, I guess four episodes are dropping today, so it's even better than I thought. Then we are going to see three more episodes drop on Christmas Day, and the final episode dropping on New Year's Eve. At least it's only one. Only eight more episodes left, so we've got to savor it before these kids have to officially retire. Maybe get the season in before they hit their 40s. We're getting close, but hopefully we will make it. But in honor of Stranger Things being back in our lives today, I wanted to pop on, do a quick video to talk about my 5 favorite episodes from the series so far. We have had 4 seasons. And I have at least one from every season as we go through these 5. So I'm going to give them to you in ascending order, starting with number 5. And number 5 is from season 1, chapter 6, The Monster. I think, if I was ranking seasons, season 1 would still be my favorite. And if I was ranking in order from best to worst, it would probably be 1, 3, 4, 2. And I know that last 2 might be a little controversial. Season 4 had its problems. The episode's arguably too long, the fact that nobody's ever together. But there was some charm to them. Season 2 is fine. I don't dislike season 2, but I just think it's weaker than 1 and 3. To me, have always been the best. But my favorite season is 1. 2 of the episodes in this countdown come from that. Episode 6 was kind of an important episode. They're starting to all come together. We had started all these disparate kind of pieces, these little groups all coming together. Also had the really excellent sequence of 11 kind of saving Mike from the bullies. Kind of coming together. We see some more of her powers there. And it was just an episode that I had enjoyed the series. I had been kind of binging through it when I first discovered it when it was out. But when I hit that, man, I knew I had to see how it was going to end, and it was a race to the finish. So that one's always kind of stood out to me. Episode number 4. Well, I mentioned season 2, probably not my favorite of the seasons, but the episode that I picked from there is episode 8. Now remember, this was a 9-episode season, although one could argue that episode 7, which is kind of a bottle episode where 11 goes to Chicago and meets somebody else for reasons that have never returned to prominence, is kind of meh. This was actually the penultimate episode of the second season, a season where they were mostly all apart. There was some fractures. They had to come together. We learned kind of about the Mind Flayer. They're trying to make, trap him, trying to use Will to draw him out, to trap him. Everybody in the cabin, out in the woods. And at the end, they're about to be attacked when 11 makes her grand appearance. That moment when she bursts through the door at the end, sees Mike after she has saved them. That was kind of a real high point for me. I like the finale of that season just fine, but it was the penultimate episode, the Mind Flayer, that kind of stood out to me. So that is number 4. What about number 3? Well, we are going to season 4. And I know not everyone loved season 4, and there were definitely some highs and lows and a lot of time where people were just marooned in Russia for no apparent reason. There are some cool episodes toward the end. One of the highest rated is episode 7, which is the massacre at Hawkins Lab, kind of the origin story for Vecna. I also kind of liked the finale. I thought that one was pretty good. But the one that I'm giving my spot to, it's not the highest ranked of the episodes according to IMDb in that season, but it was very emotional, and that is Dear Billy, that one in the middle where Max is a target for Vecna, and she has written a letter to her brother, who we saw die in kind of a heroic sacrifice at the end of season 3. That grief has kind of carried over in season 4. She writes that letter. It also, I have always kind of liked the song "Running Up That Hill." They used it in some episodes of The OC, which is probably the first place I was really introduced to it. I was born and was a child of the 80s, but 80s synth pop probably not the biggest thing for me, but I loved the use of that song. It comes back in later times. There are some fun 80s needle drops throughout the series, but I really enjoy the way that episode is put together. There's a lot of emotional heft and gravity, especially in that sequence when they're saving Max and when she's thinking about her brother Billy and reading that letter. And you know what? I'm a sucker for a good emotional climax. So that is number 3. Number 2 for me, we are going back to season 1, and that is the season 1 finale, The Upside Down. I have often said if Stranger Things would have just been one season, I think it could have been one of the all-time classics as a mini series. And the finale has a lot to do with that. The way they all come together, the way they fight at the end, the way that she beats the Demogorgon. You think as as you get to that climactic moment that she maybe Eleven had to sacrifice herself in order to beat it, to save everybody else. There's a lot of emotions there, but then you get kind of this tagged on coda. Maybe Will's not all back together normal, but what is Hopper? Why is he leaving things out in the woods? There's that spark of hope that she's there. I would have been satisfied if that was the end. Of course, I still appreciate all the seasons. I'm obviously excited to see where we go in season 5, but I thought that was a pretty great finale, a pretty great episode that really sold me on that first season. And so it has always been one of my favorite episodes. So that leads us to episode number 1. As I've mentioned, I really like season 3. We haven't had an episode from there until now. My number 1 is the finale of season 3, the Battle for Starcourt, or of Starcourt. The whole thing kind of takes place in and around the mall. There are a lot of fun things. As per all the seasons, you have all these people kind of spread out, and they all kind of come together in a unique way. We have a lot of different missions here, but the battle against the Mind Flayer, Eleven loses her power. So they really have to find a way to rally around her and find different ways of beating everything. The beautiful Neverending Story song, finally getting to meet Susie. There's just a big swell of emotions. And of course, the big thing, shutting down the Russian mission. At that point in time, we probably thought that Hopper was done. It seemed like a great heroic sacrifice moment. It is a very emotional moment. It's somewhat undermined by season 4, and I've said I don't hate season 4, but that is one of the disappointing things. No one, of course, it feels very much like a Marvel series. No one's ever actually gone in this. I don't know if anyone, except for characters on the periphery, Justice for Barb, Billy obviously gone. We lose a few people along the way, but none of these core characters are ever really gone. But for a while, you think Hopper is gone, and when they read that letter over the end crawl, that is just a deeply emotional sequence. I always thought it was beautiful at the time that I was watching it, and I still think it is beautiful and holds up. So that is my number 1. Is there going to be an episode in these 8 that would make it onto a list like this? Boy, I hope so. I, like you, probably have big expectations and hopes for how this season is going to end. But as we await for it to drop tonight, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. New York time, 7 p.m. if you live in Nashville, 6 p.m. if you live like me in Colorado, we are going to get the first batch of episodes. I can't wait to dive in and devour them. I should have been watching all of my For Your Consideration screeners this week. Instead, I have been binge watching all 4 of the previous seasons of Stranger Things to get ready for tonight. If you're like me, I know you are pumped for its return. So get in there, relive some of those classic moments, and let's see where this one's going to end up. Happy Stranger Things release day to all who celebrate.